What's up, Team Diadem? Welcome back to Courtside Sessions, the podcast designed for junior players, parents, and coaches. And we're back with a very special episode today. It's not every day that you get to sit down with a Grand Slam champion and pick his brain a little bit to learn about his whole journey through tennis. And I hope you guys are all going to be able to take some valuable things from Marcelo Arevalo. How are you feeling today?
Hey, how are you guys? Well, first of all, Kevin, thank you for having me and Diadem team. Pretty excited to be with you guys today in the podcast, and I'm doing great. And I'm pretty excited to share some experience with you guys.
I love that. And I think we can start all the way at the beginning and learn a little bit how you got into the game. I think it's also good to mention that you started your junior career in El Salvador, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So let's hear a little bit about that.
Well, I started playing tennis when I was about 8 years old. You know, like at the beginning, it was just kind of a hobby, like everyone's thought. And I was a bit, I would say, lucky because my older brother, he was already playing some national tournaments. He was already traveling to some international tournaments in Central America, so Central American games. So he was kind of my inspiration to get into the traveling also and get to know more countries. That's the way I was seeing it by then, you know, like, oh, I wanna go to Guatemala, I wanna go to Costa Rica, I wanna see how Panama looks like, you know. So that's how I started getting motivated into the tennis, and I saw tennis as a tool to get to see and to get to know different countries, you know, and that's what got me pretty, let's say, motivated when I was at that young age. And after that, everything just came together. When I was about maybe 14, I made a big decision in my life. I moved from my city, which is pretty small city. It's called Sonsonate. And I moved to the capital city.
That's awesome. What was the kind of the idea behind making that move in your career at only 14 years old?
Yeah, the reason was because in Sonsonate we didn't have any tennis courts. So basically my parents were driving me to the capital city 2 times a week for me to practice there. And the ride was probably an hour and a half each day. And, you know, they also had to work, so my mom was kind of like skipping work for taking me over there and then waiting for me and then take me back home. So it was kind of a hustle, you know, like, and we did this for like a few years, you know. So when I was 14, I decided to basically quit regular school and start a homeschool.
That's interesting because I think that's something in American tennis that a lot of families get to that point in a player's career and have to make that tough decision. So it's really cool to hear that even in El Salvador that happens there too.
Yeah, I think me and my brother were the first one to actually do something like that. You know, the culture in our country, we don't have a big sport culture. So like when other parents were kind of like seeing us like quitting regular school, they were like, oh my God, what are these child doing? You know, like what are they doing in the future? You know, like they need to go to regular school, you know, like, cause we didn't know any other way, you know. So we kind of were the first one, me and my brother, to go to the homeschool because of tennis, you know. So we were kind of like opening that way for the other kids, you know. So
do you think more players in El Salvador are doing that now than maybe, what was that, 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah, there are like a few kids already doing homeschool or like different kind of school in order to play or practice more hours and get to travel more often, you know, because of course when you're in the regular school, it's tough to skip school for like 15 weeks or like 10 weeks or whatever weeks you need to travel in order to get your ITF ranking higher, you know.
Yeah, that's very cool to hear that you kind of paved that model there a little bit. And then I'd love to hear a little bit about what it was like when you got there and you started going full time all in on tennis.
So I moved there, and I started living with my sister. She was already there because she was attending college
Oh, okay.
in the capital city. So I move in with her in the apartment. But basically, she wasn't there like the whole time, because she was focused on her stuff, projects of university and everything. So basically, I was kind of by myself
Hmm.
the whole time, and my older brother, by this time, he got a scholarship to go to Spain. So he was living and training in Spain already. So I was basically by myself, and my parents will come and visit me maybe like once or two times a week. So I was basically cooking for myself. I was doing laundry for myself. I was driving my bicycle to the tennis courts. It wasn't that far, but
Hmm.
still was like a good maybe 20 minutes ride. So I was driving my bicycle and things like that. But I think this is what really helped me to kind of like see tennis in a different way, that I really want to become a professional tennis player and I was only 14 years old, but I felt like all this developed everything in my life. It teach me so many things, to be more organized in my life, to appreciate like everything better, and and basically that was the main reason, and that was the moment when I decided that I really wanted to become a professional tennis player.
That's very cool because I can only imagine at 14 if I would have been able to survive there, cook for myself, clean, get around, do my own schedule, all that kind of stuff. So I'm very impressed by that. And I think obviously when you made that transition, you started having a lot of success in the ITF national stage, right?
Yeah, that was basically the first time when I started practicing every day, because before I was practicing 3 times a week. We started 2 times a week, and then 3 times a week, and then when I moved to the capital city, I was practicing every day, Monday to Friday, from 8 a.m. to 12, fitness and tennis, and then we had a lunch break for 2 hours, and then we were back at it again from 2 to 4, and then fitness from 4 to 5, and then little break of 30 minutes, and then 5:30 to 7 we were attending school. So it was kind of like a home school, but the teachers also will come to us
Oh, that's great.
to do a test
Hmm.
and things like that. And then I was going back home around 8 p.m. So basically, I was leaving from the apartment at 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m., and then getting back around 8 p.m. So
Wow.
basically, yeah, 12 hours every day from Monday to Friday. And Saturday, it was not tennis, but we were attending school from 8 a.m. to 12.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And I think that an interesting thing that I hear a lot out there on the junior circuit in America is a concept of people burning out, where, they train too much, they spend too much time on it, and they end up kind of resenting the game, or they don't have as much fun, they don't stick with it as long. Do you think, because the schedule you had as a junior there is pretty demanding, was that something that you thrived in, or something that you struggled with as you started committing so much?
Honestly, back in the days, I saw that as my opportunity to be successful in life. So
Hmm.
it never actually crossed my mind like, oh, I'm gonna be burned if I practice so much, or like if I'm just playing tennis every day and I don't do anything else. Like actually, I stopped going out, and I barely was seeing my friends, because I mean, in El Salvador it wasn't popular that when you were like 15, 16, you were driving your own car already. Like I didn't
Hmm.
have a car till I was 18 or 19 years old. So I I didn't have a way to move around. It wasn't easy to move around. So basically, for me, for like from 14 to 17, it was from the apartment, ride my bicycle to the tennis courts, and then back to the apartment again, and like maybe a few times when my parents will come visit, we go for dinners as a family, and then my sister will take me out a few times, but like barely, but no, it never actually crossed my mind, like I will like burn out because of so many hours, and I didn't feel that way, and I'm happy that I didn't feel that way.
Another thing is it's really cool to hear from somebody who's reached the pinnacle in the game, won a Grand Slam, about the sacrifices that you put in as a junior player, that you weren't out there messing around like the other kids. You were taking it seriously, and that's kind of, I think, at some level what it takes to be successful as a professional, is doing those things as a junior. So I think that's a great thing for everybody at home to understand what it really takes. Do you think that it's all worth it, all that sacrifice that you made as a kid?
Oh yeah, definitely. As I said, that was my only way that I saw at that moment, to be successful in life. And yeah, because I wasn't a big fan of going to school, So when my parents took me out of the regular school and I started doing like a homeschool, that was like, this is the best thing that could happen to me, So I wasn't too much into school, so always into sports and then of course tennis. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy that I did it that way. That I put all that effort, and my parents also did so many sacrifice, and I put all that hours, because I'm really enjoying my time on tour right now, and I have a great family. I have one kid and then another one on the way, so I'm pretty happy with my life.
That's awesome to hear. I would love to hear a little bit more, too, about your transition from the junior level to playing in college. I imagine there was probably some conversation about going straight to the professional level and that kind of stuff. What was that decision process like for you?
Yeah, well, after I had a great junior career, I ended up top 10. And in that moment, you start thinking like, hey, I mean, I become top 10 into the junior rankings, like why not try into the professional now and see what happened, So back in the day, the college rules were a little bit different. Mm-hmm. I know now you only have maybe a few months to try to play pro before you take like a scholarship or something like that. But before you were allowed to play a full year, and then you can still go to Division 1. So that's what I did. I play 2009. That was my first year out of junior. So I play full calendar of futures and qualies and everything. And I won, I think, 2 or 3 futures in singles, plenty of semifinals. So I ended up around top 500, I think 450. That was my ranking by October, And then I started receiving a lot of emails from college, mm-hmm. Like, hey, you want to come to our program? You want to come to our program? So I sit down with my parents, because that's where, like you start feeling a little bit more the heat in terms of money, like you.
Yeah, definitely.
You start from basically zero. You're making no money, because when you were junior, okay, you were paying for the flight tickets, but most of the tournaments, they provide you hospitality, they provide you food, like traveling. Like I traveled with the ITF team, so they were providing also coaches, but basically 2009, I was on my own, and then...
Yeah, I think let's talk about what that transition is like real quick before we get into the college stuff, because I think that's really interesting. Hi, Courtside Sessions fam. The only thing I like more than connecting with high-performance athletes is Diadem tennis rackets. Our Elevate V3 and Nova V3 line just get me so fired up. Now let's take a second to talk about each of those lines. Let's start with our Elevate. We have that in a 98 square inch head size, perfect for control-oriented players. It starts with a light racket and goes all the way up to the tour version. Now, in our Nova V3 lineup, which is our newest racket family, we did a little bit more innovation to make sure we can support players throughout their whole journey. It starts off with a very light, transitional 27-inch frame and moves up through the stages of a player's career all the way up to a heavy tour frame. The Nova V3 also has an extended length handle, the Nova Plus. Now, I can assure you one thing, there is a racket in the Diadem lineup, whether it's the Elevate or the Nova, that will be perfectly suited for your game. And today, we're gonna give you the opportunity to get one of those rackets for 15% off. Just use code CSSRACKET at checkout at diademsports.com for your chance to try the Nova and the Elevate. Personally, I'm a big Nova V3 player. I use the team version. It's a little bit lighter, nice on my shoulder. So make sure you guys go to diademsports.com and get your rackets now. The support and everything that you get as a junior, and then right when you go to the college or to the pro tour, it's bang, you're on your own. You have to pay for everything. You have to do all that. What's that like for 19-year-old?
Yes, I was 18.
18,
yeah. Basically 18 getting into the 19s, yeah.
Yeah, what's that like to be in that position? I imagine it's very stressful.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think at that point it was more stressful for my parents. You know, I didn't have any money. I was just getting some money from my parents when I was at the capital city, you know, practicing training. I was receiving like a monthly allowance, you know, to pay for my food and like little things like that, you know, but I didn't have any money in my account. So my parents were the one like get the hit, you know, from juniors that you get some help, you know, from ITF, from your federation. You get the hospitality paid, food paid, and now basically you go to the tour, you know, to the main thing, and then nobody gives you anything, you know. So they did the effort, the sacrifice, and then we were good for basically for like 10 months, and that's when we sat down and said like, hey, what we gonna do now, you know, like now it's real, now you're into the top 500, but you know it's getting pretty expensive, you know, like
yeah, totally.
And you're not making enough money, let's say, to cover for the expenses, you know, because I remember like losing one first round in a future and getting like $17 back.
Yep.
Like so I mean, you don't even pay for
no, and you had to get a flight there, a hotel,
all not that. Even for one meal nowadays in Miami.
Yep.
So yeah, so it was crazy, you know, it was crazy. So yeah, so that's when my dad told me like, hey, I think, you know, the best solution now till we figure it out money wise is you going to college, you know, since you've been getting so many emails about like getting a scholarship in a Division I, and that's how I decided to go to college. Yeah, I didn't want it to go to college. I wanted to keep playing pro and, you know, like, and just become a pro right away. But yeah, we didn't have the financial support back then, so I took the college route as a way to keep improving in my tennis. Totally. You know, to keep developing my my tennis as a person. And once I got to college, you know, I was happy to be there because our mentality of college in our countries is like, once you go to college, you are out, you know, like you have no chance to become a professional athlete. You know, that was the way we were thinking about college.
And I think that's kind of a mindset that a lot of American players had for a long time. And then more recently, you're seeing the Americans especially go through the college ranks and then have success on the pro tour. So I think nowadays, especially the decision to go play in college for junior players is a little bit easier than it was back then, where, like you're talking about, the whole concept is if you go to college, it's over. That's it. Yeah. Can't go play pro after and be successful. You know what I mean? So I think that it's cool to hear that your decision to do that paid off. And I think we're starting to see a lot more players do that now.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you get tagged on Instagram or Facebook and things like that. And I saw that, I can't remember, like 10 or 15 out of the top 20 in doubles are all college players. So that's pretty amazing. Like nowadays everyone is just taking the college route to develop, to improve their tennis and as a person, because the competition is so high that I think it's probably the best way to get to the professional tour now.
Totally, I love to hear that. And what was your decision making process that made you decide I want to go to this school over that school? What was that recruiting process like that made you make that decision?
It was kind of like a rushing decision, because this was already October. We were talking about like going to college in October, and this was for January. And I need to attend the SAT. I need to do the TOEFL. The TOEFL. I don't know if you guys know what
I'm familiar with it, but
so
for all the international
yes.
players that are trying, or students that are going to school in America, it's a difficult process, a lot of paperwork, right?
Yeah, a lot of questions. So yeah, I mean, my English back then, it wasn't, still not good, but it was pretty bad.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask too. What that part of the transition to playing in college. So after we hear about how you chose your school, I'd love to hear about that part of it too.
Yeah. So I went to a public school in El Salvador, so we didn't get much English classes. So yeah, when I was going through this process, I need to take the SAT, the TOEFL, and all that stuff. So to be honest, I didn't do well in the SAT, especially because it's pretty. It was pretty complicated for me, and I didn't have a good score. To call it that way. So then my options were less and less. Because some school were.
They had the academic standards.
Yeah, exactly. They needed this score, to be part of the program, right?
Yeah, and I think that's an important point for all the junior players right now, is make sure you guys are doing your academics so that you don't find yourself in that position where your options are limited because of something like that. Obviously, yours situation is a little bit different coming from a foreign country, but everybody here has access to the school and everything, take advantage of it and get good test scores, good GPA, all that kind of stuff.
Nice. That's good. Yeah. So, yeah, as you said, my options were limited. And one of the schools that I liked, it was private.
Okay.
So their rules were different, a little bit different to public schools. So I was able to get into their program. So this was University of Tulsa. And I'm really happy that worked out the way it did, because then I had an amazing almost 2 years there. I improved a lot with the coaches, and they helped me a lot with basically everything. I got there. I was a little bit rusty with the school stuff, because 1 year just playing tennis, forgot about everything school related. So I was a little bit rusty, but yeah, they helped me. They helped me big time, to start over again with some tutors. So I was getting a lot of help, and yeah, I was able to pass all my classes.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
So I'm pretty proud of that, to say that. I was able to pass all my classes, and I improved my tennis a lot. I improved as a person, and stayed there for 2 seasons.
What did you think about the team culture kind of play? Cause
I love it.
You liked that?
Oh yeah, I love it.
How was that with because obviously, like you said, your English wasn't as good coming in. It's great now, but how was that transition getting to play with teammates and being a part of the culture?
I'm telling you, I was very lucky to have the people that I had around back in the days, they were so supportive, you know, like basically, I think I was the only guy as that had English as the second language, because they were British guys, Australian guys, South African, well, South African, so it was his second language, but yeah, the rest were English, the first language. So they were super nice to me, you know, like they, you know, like normally when you're in college, like, you know, you joke with your friends when someone make a mistake, you make fun of the guy, you know,
Yeah,
like
totally.
that's the way it is, you know, like. But they were like super nice to me. They were helping me. They were correcting me like in a nice way, you know. So they never felt me make me feel like down, you know, like that I was dumb because I was pronouncing something bad or something, you know. So I was pretty lucky to have those guys around, and also because I was playing as number one. So I think those guys were like, we cannot mess out with this guy, you know? so yeah, so they helped me a lot, yeah. So I was pretty lucky to have them around, yeah.
No, that's awesome to hear you had a good experience at Tulsa and playing college tennis. And then I imagine the point came where it was you were ready to go back and play pro, right? You mentioned you were only there for 2 years. What was that decision-making process like for you?
I think I kind of rushed my decision to get out of college because maybe I was too much into the results. You know, I was always looking at how my ex friends were doing on the future level, challengers level. So a lot of the guys that I was playing juniors, that they were like same ranking as me or they were lower than me, they were like winning futures, they were winning challengers, they were already like 300, 250, you know, playing qualies of Grand Slams. And I was kind of like, this guy, you know, so I felt like those guys were living my dream, you know, that was my dream, you know, and then, those guys already living the life, they living the dream, and that's my dream. So I kind of like, I wanted to get off college to start playing pro again, you know, so yeah, so after 2 seasons, I decided to quit college, basically, and I found some people that were very kind to help in my project, in my professional career, and I got some money from those people, and that's how I started from zero again.
Yep, exactly. Talk a little bit about what that was like.
But before I move forward and start talking, I wanted to say that now, if I would, let's say, be in that position again, I think I will stay and finish my 4 years of college, and then I will play pro, because I think I was improving, I was developing good as a player, as a person. I was playing a lot of matches every week, good level matches, you know, and I think getting out like halfway or staying the extra 2 years, it wouldn't change the outcome of my career, you know. Like, I think I will still be who I am now, you know. So yeah, so just for the kids out there, you know, like try to maybe not rush that decision because your friends or someone else is playing out there and they're already winning titles or one future or that challenger, you know. It doesn't really matter, you know. You gotta focus on yourself and just keep working hard, and then you're gonna make it, you know. You're gonna get there also on your own pace, you know.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that, because that's something that I tell people a lot when I'm out at tournaments and things is, don't really be so concerned with everybody else, especially at the younger stages in your career. Do what you know you need to do to get to where you want to do, because everybody gets there with a different path.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So very cool to hear you saying that. Guy that's won a Grand Slam is in on that mindset too. So I really do appreciate that.
That's good. So yeah, so then when I quit college, you know, um, I started playing again, not from zero because I played some futures when we were not during the season.
Yeah, totally.
So I kept my ranking maybe about 800, 850. So that was enough to be main draw in the future level. So that was a huge help, because otherwise you gotta start from zero playing qualies, and sometimes you don't get in. So I saved myself a good amount of months there, like getting the first point again and getting to the tournaments again. So
was there anything that you did different in kind of like your preparation at the beginning of the season, those sort of things, from the first time you went pro until the second time after college? Did you do anything different to train and get ready for the season, or was it kind of same mindset, keep it rolling?
I think the mindset of working hard, it was always the same. Working hard, put a lot of hours, but the mindset of how I was facing the matches, it was a lot different. From being 18 years old, coming from juniors, being top 10, sometimes you go out there and think you're gonna beat everyone, because you were top 10 in juniors, and then you playing a guy who's 1,000 in the world that they never play junior, and you think like, oh, this guy, it's not good enough for me, like I should beat this guy easy, and then you find yourself in the third set battling 5-5 in the third set, after 3 hours and a half, so then after college, I changed that mindset, and then I was more humble when I was, let's say, going into the matches, and like more focused on myself and what I need to do better, or what I need to do good in order to win those matches, and I started to have better results pretty quick, so it took me a year to get out of actually 2 years to get out of the future level, and then I started playing challengers, and yeah, from the challenger level, which is another, I would say, important step when you go from futures to challengers. Then you start facing guys, top 100 guys,
totally,
that been around 150, 200 for 3-4 years with a lot of experience. Older guys too, like.
What was that experience like when you're playing against the guys that have those numbers next to their name? The top 100 guy. Were you nervous in those matches? Yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, the few times that like when I was playing guys with a one in front of the ranking, or one, even it was 199, like it was kind of like, oh man, I'm playing this guy, this guy is 190, and probably I was, I don't know, 450, 350, whatever, but like just to see that number one in front of your ranking, like it makes you feel like, oh, you're close to make it to the top 100, and as a kid, at least for me, like that was the biggest dream, become top 100, so when you're like 150, 160, 180, whatever, you're like one step closer, so yeah, playing those guys, it was a big challenge, I was getting a little nervous, and sometimes you get to the court and with a bit more respect, and then you start going into the match and start getting more comfortable, and then you start like realizing like, hey, I'm kind of, like maybe not in the same level, but I'm able to compete with this guy now, so that also gives you a lot of motivation and also more desire to keep working harder and harder to get to those numbers, to those guys' levels,
Yeah, I love to hear that. And let's hear a little bit more about once you started climbing those challenger ranks and having success there. What came next after that?
Yeah, then in the challenger level, it took me longer. It took me longer to actually start like feeling comfortable winning matches. And then I was going, let's say, like sometimes I would drop in the ranking, so I would have to pay futures to get my ranking up again, and then go back to the challenger level. So I was like that also for another maybe solid 2 years.
And What's that like? Because, for kids out there too, they look at the rankings. That's very important for them. And if they see they go down, what do you have any advice to kind of don't worry about that and stay on your path, anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, you gotta trust the process. You gotta trust yourself. You gotta know who you are. You gotta know that you're capable of doing what you think you can do. You need to set your goals and just trust that process. Sometimes you're not gonna play the way you want it, and you're gonna drop in the rankings. But also you gotta know that tennis is just like that. The margin in tennis is so small that sometimes you just need to play good for like 2 or 3 weeks per year, and that's enough to stay in the ranking that you want. Of course, if we talk about levels, but like the top guys, they win a Master 1000 and then they don't win much, and then they still top 20.
Yep.
So in the challenger level is basically similar, just with different numbers. You win a challenger, and that basically enough for the year to stay around 200, 250, and then the future level is basically the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta just trust the process, wait for those. Maybe wait is not the right term to use, because if you wait, it might never come to you. So you gotta go out there and find those good weeks that you will play good, or you will feel motivated, and you're gonna get out your best tennis.
100%. What's up, Courtside Sessions family? Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the first part of our conversation with Marcelo. It was so great to learn a little bit about his junior and college career. Now, before we dive into some info about part 2, remember to use code CSSBalls and CSSRacket on our website at diademsports.com to unlock some great discounts on products. Remember, that's CSSBALLS and CSSRACKET on diademsports.com. Now, also make sure you stay tuned next Wednesday, May 22nd, when we drop part 2 of our conversation with Marcelo. It'll be so great to learn a little bit more about his rise through the pro ranks and ultimately winning a Grand Slam championship. See you guys all next week.